In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your front brakes in your Kia Soul. They're located behind your front wheels. I'm going to use a 21mm socket to take off the front wheel. All right, I'm going to use a 14mm socket to remove our caliper slide bolts. All right, now that you have your slide bolts out, you're going to take a pry bar and you're going to pry that out. I'm going to hang this up with my caliper hook. Put it right on the spring, strut spring. Just out of the way. All right, so we're going to take our bleeder cap off. Get a 10mm socket. We're going to open up our bleeder before we compress our caliper. Make sure you have a drip pan below you to catch the brake fluid. I'm going to tighten it up a tiny bit. It doesn't need to be too loose. And now I'm going to borrow one of these pads with this to use this tool. If you have another, there's other types of tools out there to compress it, but this is the one I'm using. I'm going to borrow one of these brake pads. If it comes out. That would be a good reason why we're doing the pads in this car. Put your old pad in there, use your brake compressor. And what that does is it, as your bleeder's open, so put your pan underneath, and as you push that in, brake fluid will come out. Just going to loosen my bleeder up a tiny bit more. I'm going to turn this till it doesn't go anymore. All right, when you have compressed it completely, you can tighten up your bleeder. And then let that hang. You can take this tool out now. And now we're going to take our caliper bracket off. All right, we're going to use a 17mm socket to get our caliper bracket bolts out. I'm going to put that one back in because it looks like the bottom bolt is a little stuck. I'm going to move this back and forth so that I don't break off the bolt. All right, so now we're going to take our bracket out. And we're going to bring this over to our bench. All right, here we are at our bench. We're going to take out our other brake pad. I'm going to take off our shims. I typically like to lay things down the way they came out so I don't get confused in case it's a funny setup. Next thing we're going to do is clean out this, and then we'll move on to our slides. So I'm going to use a wire brush. You can also use one of these if that makes your life a little easier or quicker. You definitely need to get inside these creases here or your new shims won't seat right. Use your rag, get rid of the rest. At this point, we're ready to do our caliper slides. I usually like to check to see if they're free first, which they are. And now I'm going to pull these out. And that came out. This boot is ripped right there, actually. So we're going to have to replace those. Because if you don't, then the dirt stuff gets inside and then ruins your caliper. All right, so let's start with this one. You're going to wipe that down. You're going to look for pits, any pitting. You want a wire brush in here so that your boot fits in there right. So we're going to put some silicone paste on our slides. And put that off to the side. We are going to put some in our boot. You're going to put the brush through. And you're going to squeeze the boot. Make sure you get it inside the ribs. Wipe off any excess. And we are going to slide this onto our slide. Put it on. Put it inside where it sits. And place that off to the side. Now we're going to go in here and clean that out. That looks better. I'm going to put some of this There. So you're going to want to put your rubber boot in place. And put your slide in. You're going to push all the way down. There's going to be air that comes out. That's what you want. You don't want air in there. And then what you're looking for is vacuum. You want that to go back in on its own. Once you get all the air out, you're going to move on to your next one. Pull that out. Wipe it off. Clean up that where it sits. Put some silicone paste on the slide. This is a good time to check your boot. Take that out. You want to clean it up. Put some silicone paste in here. Squeeze. Get it in the ribs. Put that off to the side for a second, and then we're going to clean out this. All right, so now we're going to put this back in. Put our slide in. Push all the way down. Make sure the air comes out. You can use a pick of some sort to pick up this lip if you hear that it doesn't let the air out. Just don't puncture it. It's important you get the air out, otherwise the slide will get frozen, and then your caliper will get frozen, and then you're going to have a lot of brake problems. So be patient, take your time, do it right. All right, so we're going to do it to test. Looks like it goes back in. You got that vacuum, you're good to go. Now we're going to put some paste on here. Use your finger. Spread it around. Wipe your hands, and then you're going to put your shims on. All 4 of my shims are the same. Sometimes they're not, so make sure that you check with the old ones. We're back here, we're going to clean this off, make things easier to install. And now we're going to take off our rotor. All right, so we're going to take our rotor off. I'm going to use an impact drive screwdriver that you put in these little screws here. It helps take the rotor off. I have sprayed this vehicle down with some penetrating oil due to the... All right, so sometimes these don't come out, these screws. So you're going to want to drill them out. Okay, so now we're going to clean up our hub. If you also had to drill out your screws that hold the rotor on, that's okay. Just leave them flush. You don't need to use them. That's just a factory option to hold on the rotor. You definitely want to clean where the rotor sits in there. Get a wire brush and just go around it. Just gonna brake clean that off. Let that drip dry and then put some anti-seize on the hub. I like the spray kind. We're going to put our rotor on, lining up where the screws used to be. And now I'm going to hold it on with a lug nut. And now we can put our bracket on. All right, so now we're going to put our bracket on. Let's start with the top bolt. If those bolts are tough to get in there, use a socket. You definitely want to start them by hand. All right, we're going to snug these up and then torque them to 60 foot-pounds. All right, 60 foot-pounds. All right, so let's put our pads in. The squealer is on the top and on the inside. All right, and now we're going to put our front pad in. Now we're going to put our caliper on. Start your top bolt. Then your bottom. We're going to be torquing these to 20 foot-pounds. Let's just snug them up first. Get your torque wrench, set it to 20. All right, now we're going to take off our lug nut and put our bleeder screw cap back on. We can take our lug nut off and be sure to take your caliper hanger off the vehicle if you used one. Make sure you take your caliper hanger off. Okay, now that you've done this side, you can do the other. Make sure your brake pedal is nice and firm. Pump it up a little bit. If it feels squishy, you're going to have to bleed the brakes. All right, we're going to put our wheel back on. Start our lug nuts. Use a 21mm socket. You're going to snug these down in a star-like pattern. Now that we have the vehicle on the ground, we are going to torque our wheels to 80 foot-pounds with a 21mm socket. We're going to do this in a star-like pattern, and then we're going to check it again. All right, now you can take a deep breath because this job is done. You can take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.